Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Friday, March 6th, 2026. I am Dave Biddle, very happy joined by Jonah Booker. A lot to get into, my friend. Let's start with late breaking news. You just informed me Ohio State just hired an assistant offensive line coach. Tell the good people about that, Jay Book.
Yeah, it looks like Arthur Smith is already making some moves here. He's bringing over one of his assistant offensive line coach, Mateo Kamboy, who spent the last 2 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was also the offensive line coach with the Atlanta Falcons. So he's bringing over someone who's very familiar with his scheme, who's able to help assist with the run blocking techniques and some of the schematics there. So it's a fascinating hire. Arthur Smith already getting his fingerprints on the program.
I like it. I like it a lot. And I have inside sources telling me that Arthur Smith has shaved his mustache, for those that are wondering. Yeah, I can't talk too much about it. But yeah, I know for a fact Arthur has shaved the stash. I know a lot of people were concerned about that. That's great news. That's awesome. I always thought like he, with his background being he was an offensive lineman in college, Arthur Smith, and broke into the business as an O-line coach, even was the O-line coach with the Titans before he became offensive coordinator. Yeah, I just think his influence, and now I don't know much about the man that they just hired, but I just if it's good enough for Art Smith, it's good enough for me. I just like the more emphasis on the offensive line, JB.
Yeah. Well, you and I talked about this. This is a big year for Tyler Bowen because you can make an argument that the reason Ohio State didn't run a back-to-back national championship was because of the offensive line play. And you take into consideration that majority of that offensive line was coming back from a national championship run, and they took a step backwards. Now that Arthur Smith is bringing over his offensive line coach, who was his first in line O-line coach for the Falcons, brought him over to Pittsburgh. Now that Tyler Bowen has another down year, you're probably looking at his replacement that's already in the building. So I think this is a situation to where it's a make or break year for Bowen.
Unless Bill Belichick gets fired at North Carolina and then Arthur Smith gets hired as Carolina's head coach. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah,
Carolina
he's probably the first order of business is he's going to take this guy with him to be his O-line coach at UNC.
I've said before, just it's a year-to-year transaction now in college football. I'm fine. Hopefully Arthur Smith stays more than 1 year, like Patricia. But if he just stays 1 year and things go well, I'm fine with it. Like I'm just got to focus on 2026. I think it's a really, really, really good hire. We shall see. And I love what Ryan Day's done overall with the staff. I think Cortez Hankton was best case scenario when you're losing a guy like Brian Hartline. I mean, Cortez was getting like a lot of high remarks from the former LSU receivers. They said he's the real deal. So that's good. I like everything he's doing. Brought in the special teams coach from Illinois. I like everything he's doing. But you're right. Big year for Tyler Bowen, man. Tyler Bowen's really a likable guy. I call him Giant Scotty Scheffler. And Scotty Scheffler's not a small dude, but Tyler Bowen looks like Giant Scotty Scheffler. And heck of a nice guy, good recruiter, but, got to do a better job coaching up at O-line. But hopefully he in year two will improve, and then having Arthur Smith around and having all these guys back. I love all the experience they have on that O-line. All right, let's talk about the guys that are going to be running behind the offensive line. The running backs, I'm pretty bullish on this room, man. Obviously, Bo Jackson returning as the starter. Both Bo and Isaiah West will miss the spring with they got their shoulder scope, as I'm sure most people know. Just want to throw that out there for anybody who didn't know that. Jacoby Jackson coming in, seventh-year senior from Florida. Legend Bay. Oh, man, I'm really excited about Legend Bay. I can't wait to hear you talk about him. And I can't wait to see him when spring ball opens on Tuesday. Turbo Rogers. We got Favor Aki coming in, who might be a little underrated. Your thoughts on this running back room, Jonah?
Yeah, I'm so fascinated to see how the spring is going to play out because Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, they are not going to be participating in the spring because they're coming off surgeries. So they're trying to get healthy. So that's going to leave a very, very short rotation. Jacoby Jackson, seventh-year senior coming in from Florida transfer. He is someone that's probably going to get the first team reps. I mean, Legend Bay, the hype train for him is already. We haven't even kicked off spring ball yet, and they're gassing him up something tremendous right now. So I think with him, he's definitely going to be an option. I'm curious because I think there was conversations around Legend Bay about him not primarily being a running back, that he was going to have a situation to where he can kind of play all over the field, some in the slot, some at the running back position. So he's going to be more of your weapon. I think Favorite Urquide, he doesn't get talked about enough. And our logical thinking is, he's a true freshman. He's probably not going to contribute right now. But you look at what Bo Jackson just did. I don't think a lot of people had it on their bingo card that Bo Jackson was going to be 1,000-yard running back coming into the program as a true freshman. So can Favor do something with his opportunities? Then you got to mention Turbo Rogers. Turbo looked like he is put on some weight. I saw pictures of him. He's looking yoked up right now. So that right there is going to be a 4-person running back in the spring to see who's really going to emerge out of that group.
Yeah, a couple of things I really like about Favor Key is that, first of all, he's fast. He's a sub 11 second in 100 meters, 10.9 in the 100 meters. And he's listed at 190 pounds, but he's the classic case of punches above his weight class. Like, he is a physical one. Now, he's a one cut and go guy. He can outrun you, obviously, like I just said, but he can run you over. And I love that. And he's only 17 years old. So if he's 190 now, he's just going to get bigger, and especially now with Mick. And if you're in Carlos Laughlin's room, you better be jacked, right? He leads the way with that. So yeah, I think he's also underrated a little bit, Jonah, that he was hurt during his senior year. Favorite he was at Delaware, and even though Delaware Hayes is not a small school, as we know, it's also not a powerhouse program. So I think all of that, when people say, "Oh, is this a 3-star true freshman running back?" I think he's going to at least add solid depth this year if he stays healthy.
He is. I'm not going to say, hey, this guy is going to be a complete difference maker right now. My logical thinking is don't sleep on him, because we've seen freshmen who are coming in who probably didn't have the biggest senior season like they wanted because of injuries. And then once they got here, they were able to really blossom. And you got to give credit to Coach Laughlin for getting those guys ready. The running back position, that is the one spot to where if you're young, you can play. I mean, talent speaks volumes at the running back position. It's, hey, can you handle the blocking assignments is one of the biggest things, because even though Bo Jackson was 1,000-yard running back, he still struggled some in the pass protection once he started punching above his weight, going against the Miamis and the Indianas, trying to step up into the A gap to stop a blitzing linebacker, and he struggled at those moments. So that's an ongoing process. But if he can tote that rock, Dave, he's going to have an opportunity this spring.
I'll tell you what, the Legend Bay, you touched on this. The hype train is already going, I don't want to say off the rails. It's just a bullet train. It's on the rails. I'm buying in, because this isn't just random fans talking about it or a few media guys talking about it. You have like Ryan Day saying he's like a poor man's Tyreek Hill. There's talks he's like jacked. He's like, one of the things was, oh, he's going to be like 190 pounds or whatever. There's talk he's like 205, 210 now. And is just impressing everybody. I can't wait to see this guy in the spring. Last few springs that we've had a lot of buzz on guys, it's panned out. Like it started with like Marvin, and then like Carnell Tate. Not that those guys had big time freshman years, but they obviously worked out really well. JJ was the one that came in and was setting the world on fire and did have a huge freshman year. So I do remember the Dontre Wilson year where everybody was excited about him, another guy from Texas. But I don't know, man, nothing against Dontre. Legend just seems to have another gear to him. And I think he's going to be a big part of this offense this year, Jonah.
He has world-class speed, Dave. And that's something that you can't teach. I'm calling it right now. When you guys head over to practice and you see those guys, he's going to look different. Because with him being 210 right now, and if he still has that sprinter's track speed like he's bringing to the table coming into the program, is going to look completely different than anything else that you've seen. There's fast, and then there's fast, like absolute just nuclear burners, and that's Legend Bay. Like when you're down in Texas and you're one of the top sprinters in the state of Texas, and they always pump out fast athletes, coming up into the football where you're automatically going to look like the fastest person on the field. The question is, can he handle the load? What can he do with the football in his hands? Because we've seen a lot of guys that are fast, but they weren't able to correlate that to being a really good football player. I don't think that's the case with Legend Bay, because he showed it on the field in high school that, hey, he's an elite athlete with the ball in the hand. The thing about him, though, Dave, is not only the straight line speed, but the change of direction. That's what made Ted Ginn so wonderful. Ted Ginn, when he opened those gates up, there's nobody catching him. But Ted Ginn's ability to stop on the dime and then get right back up to top speed with a blink of an eye, that's what made him incredible. That's something that Legend Bay brings to the table, to where, hey, he can stop on the dime and then he can get up and go right now before the defense has an opportunity to catch up to him.
You watch this film, it looks like he's got a jetpack on him when he runs against, as you were saying, against really fast, good dudes in Texas. It's not like he's playing against bad competition. It's like, well, I don't know about the competition. Right. He's playing against tough competition. He just looks like it's like a video game or something. It's like Bo Jackson, the old Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl way back in the day, showing my age there. You just give the ball to Bo Jackson, do a sweep, goodbye, touchdown every time. Okay, moving right along. This is an interesting topic, but I did want to touch on it. Today, there was a panel meeting in Washington, D.C., and this is a large panel with a lot of heavy hitters on it. Urban Meyer is on it. This is about the future of college sports, all right, with a heavy emphasis on NIL. It's happening today at the White House. People might say the government might have more important things to do right now. I understand that. Others might say people can walk and chew gum at the same time. So I find this interesting. So Urban's there. Saban's on the panel. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, is somehow on the panel. You've got all the commissioners from the Power Four and the Group of Five, Group of Six, really. So all the conference commissioners are there. No current players are there. No current college athletes are there, which some people are upset about. It is being led by President Donald Trump is leading this meeting. Can anything, what do you think anything will come out of this? You think, a lot of people, The Athletic did a story quoting some anonymous sources saying, listen, everything we've tried has failed up to this point. We need to do something because this is not tenable for another couple of years.
Yeah. I wish they would have had some athletes there that can really speak on behalf of the student athletes. That would have been nice. I'm skeptical, Dave, and here's the reason why. Because no matter what ruling that they try to put in place, as long as someone who is unhappy with that decision takes it to their local court and a local judge rules in their favor, it blows everything up. So until you have something to where it's going to prevent people from being able to go to their small town Oxford judge and get a ruling, then it's not going to matter. So I don't know. I don't know if you can even stop someone from doing that, but it's a step in the right direction. I know there are a lot more pressing needs in this country besides this topic right here, but you're still talking about multi-billion-dollar entity when it comes to college sports. There needs to be some type of guardrail. I don't know any other big business in America that is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that basically has no rules. Like you really don't see you don't see that very often. But I'm just skeptical until they can figure out a situation to where, hey, if I don't like the decision, I'm going to go challenge it in my local court and I'm going to win because the judge is an alumni to my university. When you have those type of situations there, it kind of throws a wrench in the machine when people are trying to get things done.
And if you have this many powerful people like Urban and Saban, everybody else I mentioned, if they all want guardrails in place and they can agree roughly what those guardrails should be, you got to think there's a good chance that's going to happen, especially if you have the backing of the government.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I don't know.
We'll see. I'm not going to hold my breath. I mean, hopefully they get something out of this. Like I said, I wish they would have been able to get current athletes' voice in the room to kind of talk on behalf of the students. You're talking about Adam Silver, and I think the Yankees president is there. Bob Kraft is there. So a lot of people who aren't necessarily in touch with what's going on in college football or college sports are going to have a voice in the room as opposed to necessarily the people who are going to be impacted the most, which are the student athletes.
Yeah, Cody Campbell's going to be there, the Texas Tech mega booster. He's going to be there. Tiger Woods, I think, is on the list. I think Doreen even mentioned that in the chat. Yeah, this list of panelists is impressive.
Condoleezza Rice. How does Condoleezza Rice find herself always involved in college athletics, man?
She's a big college football fan, man.
I guess I know she's a Stanford alum and all, but man, somehow she always finds herself in the mix of college sports. Like she was on the selection committee for like a period of time. Like I guess she knows ball.
Yeah, and I think she was on like the initial committee, right? Like when they first started the college football playoff committee, I think she was one of the founding members, so to speak. You're right. She's always involved. That's funny. I'm gonna go back to running backs a little bit because people have asked me, should we be concerned about Bo and Isaiah missing spring with the shoulder? I was told it's very minor. Some people might say there's no such thing as minor shoulder surgery. Okay, relatively speaking, when we're talking about shoulder surgery, these are minor. These are not like blown out labrums or anything like that. Nothing was torn off the bone. I've heard it's pretty minor, nothing to worry about. These guys will be ready to roll, not just for camp, but like for summer conditioning.
Yeah. Not worried about the injury, but I will say you will want them to be there, especially when you're implementing Arthur Smith schematics on offense. It's still going to be the Ohio State offense, but there will be Arthur Smith fingerprints on the run game, which will directly impact those guys. So it's going to be critical for them this spring to make sure that they're right behind the running backs, getting those mental reps and spending that extra time in the film room and the whiteboard with Coach Lachlan to make sure that they're up to speed.
Anytime we can get a Chappelle Show shout out, I'm down with it. Buck Rational. Anybody remember the Chappelle episode where they traded Condoleezza? Oh man, Chappelle. I love Dave Chappelle. That's awesome.
When he was at the peak, I was at OU at the time, and in the evening time, the Chappelle Show was coming on. You would be in a 400 or 500 person lecture hall, and you would just hear somebody, "What?" just out of nowhere. Okay, as they're walking in through it, and then as soon as the professors say you guys can get out of here, you will see people just running out of the auditorium so that they can get home to watch the Chappelle Show.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And he goes on his sabbatical there for a while, or whatever you want to call it, and then comes back and has just been crushing it ever since. I love his new it's not even new now. It's been out for a couple months on Netflix. He's talking about how like he just has bought the whole town of Yellow Springs. Yellow Springs is pretty close to where I grew up. And it's just funny hearing him talk about that. He doesn't actually say Yellow Springs, but that's obviously what he's talking about.
Dobes in Indrum, he said Jay Book gives me Big Bush vibes. If you talk about G Bush up in Cleveland, man, that was my old roommate in college.
Really?
He does the barbershop up there in Cleveland, and he's on the local Cleveland radio show. That's my old roommate. That's my boy.
See, good things happen at Ohio University, my friends. That's good stuff right there. Jay Book, fellow Bobcat right there. All right, let's talk a little hoops here. Now, it feels like Ohio State, if they win tomorrow against Indiana, they're in. Maybe you could say they need to win a game in the Big Ten tournament. I think if they finish 12-8 in the Big Ten regular season, which they will if they win tomorrow, 5:30 at the Schott, by the way, my friends, I think they're in. Your thoughts on that? Do you even really care very much?
I care. You definitely want to see Ohio State's basketball program do well. There's room for both programs to have success. And the first step is they got to get into the tournament. I mean, how many times have they faced must-have games, Dave, and they just peed on their leg? Like, they got to show up. This is at home. You're on the bubble. If they can play it the way that they've played the last, game, they can win this game. And I just hope that they can finish it, close the deal, like put an exclamation point on their resume, which what do you think, Dave? If they get in, they'll probably be 12 seed, 13 seed? What do you think?
Oh, man. If they might have to do a play-in game. They would probably be – I'm trying to think. What was the worst at-large last year? Was there an at-large that was 13? Yeah, that's as bad as you can be. They could be. I could see them being. I don't know if they'll put them in the play-in game in Dayton because Ohio State fans will just take over UD Arena. I don't know if the NCAA wants that much of a home court advantage for like a 13 seed. Yeah, right around there. I could see them like as good as an 11 seed.
Yeah.
It's just tough, man. At least now they got a couple of quad one wins. Wisconsin wasn't when they got it, but then Wisconsin now is considered one. And then obviously Purdue, that was huge. And Indiana's not bad. Indiana's quad 2, but it would also keep Indiana out because Indiana still has a somewhat of a chance if they beat Ohio State. This would just completely shut Indiana out. So it would be twofold. It would give Ohio State pretty much, in my opinion, would be a lock, and you'd also keep another bubble team out. So that'd be awesome.
Gotta win. But I hope they win, and I hope they get into the tournament. Like, the drought has been way too long for this basketball program. Like, the standards definitely should be higher. But I will say this: if they do get in, I think it's going to quiet a lot of people in regards to that talking point, because that's been the talk of the basketball program for several years. They can't even get into the NCAA tournament. Now, will they do anything? That's a whole different ball game. You hope for the best, but first step is win this game this weekend and then get into the tournament.
Yeah, again, tomorrow, 5:30 Eastern at the Schott. And then we get to lose an hour of sleep. Arizona has it right. There's no daylight savings. There's no spring forward, fall back. We do that this weekend. Eventually, hopefully in my lifetime, I was talking with my daughter. I drove her to school this morning. She's like, why do we have daylight savings? It's so dumb. And I'm like, I know. I said, I guarantee you in your lifetime, we'll get rid of it. Hopefully in my lifetime. And I was telling her, I'm like, already Arizona doesn't have it. Hawaii doesn't have it. Why do we still have that? It's so outdated. It makes me. You guys have it right in Arizona, though, my friend.
We have it right. We just sit still and we adjust to everybody else that's moving all around.
All right. Well, yeah, I get to lose an hour of sleep this weekend, but I think we'll survive it. All right, go Bucks tomorrow. Let's get this win. Get the boys in the tournament. Jonah, thank you very much as always, my friend. I appreciate your insights.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, bud. Appreciate it.
Bye.
There's the man, Jonah Booker. Yeah, we saw one comment I wanted to get to. We talked about this last week. Not that you guys watch some of you might watch every one of our shows or listen to the shows, the podcast only version. But we did touch on this last week. We have a question from Matt, or at least a comment from Matt on YouTube. He said, what about Bobby Carpenter getting so worked up over the pace of play stuff? Thought that was odd for him. I didn't hear what Bobby said, but I know what you're referring to, because Jonah talked about it last week. Maybe Bobby did it again this week. Bobby does not agree with a lot of us that the pace of play was a problem last year for the offense. And his reasoning makes sense from a defensive standpoint. Bobby was, as we all know, a linebacker. So he's looking at it from a defensive lens. He's basically saying if you have the number one defense in the country, like, you want to have a slow pace of play. You want to have, like, you want to put your defense in the bed. They're the number one defense in the country. I hear what he's saying. I would counteract that with, if you think you're the better team, you want as many cracks at the bat as possible. Right? Like, if I'm Northwestern playing against Ohio State, I want to muddy the game up. I want to have really, long possessions. I want to take my time between plays. I want to shorten the game. Why? Because then every turnover then becomes magnified. If you got 14 possessions and you turn the ball over twice, maybe not a big deal. If you have 9 possessions and you turn the ball over twice, big deal. And that's a little bit of extreme. You're probably not going to have 14 possessions or 9, but you guys know what I'm saying. And I think if you're Ohio State, if you think you're the better team, you want as many possessions as possible. You don't want to run out of time like they basically did against Indy. Well, they didn't run out of time. They missed a chip shot field goal. They kind of ran out of time against Miami. You want as many cracks at the bat as possible. And having the number one defense, you could argue, enables you to take more chances offensively. So I agree with Bobby a lot when it comes to Ohio State football. This is one where I definitely disagree. Maybe I should have left Jonah on for to get his thoughts as well. But I think we know how he feels about it. He agrees with what I'm saying. That, yeah, I mean, you could. It's not like Ryan Day didn't have any rational sense at all what he was doing. Like, he was trying to save some wear and tear on his players. He thought the best defense in the country. Let's not take too many chances here. We got the best defense in the country. But if you have the best defense in the country, you can take more chances offensively, in theory, right? If you put your defense in a bad spot and you've got a bad defense, good luck. You're just going to give up 6 points every time you put them in a bad spot. You got the best defense in the country. maybe nothing even comes of it. Even there's a turnover or bad field position, whatever it might be. You've got the best defense in the country. They should be able to counteract that. So I just think the pace of play was way too slow. And one more thing, and J-Book has pointed this out. If you go balls to the wall like Indiana does, we're just going to go after, we're going to attack. That doesn't necessarily mean pedal to the metal at all times with tempo. I think in tempo, you've got to be like a baseball pitcher. All right. You've got to be able to, if your fastball is your thing, throw your fastball more often than your other pitches, but you have to mix in your changeup. You have to mix in your curveball, your slider, whatever else you have. Or the batter's just going to be sitting there. And it doesn't matter if you throw 100 miles an hour in the big leagues. They can hit it out of the park if they know it's coming too often. So you've got to mix it up tempo-wise. But Indiana, they mix it up tempo-wise, but they are in attack mode. They're not trying to be like, okay, let's slow it down here. And then what does that enable you to do if things go well? There's no guarantee things are going to go well. That enables you then to rest your starters because you get a big lead, and it enables you to get young guys more playing time. So I think the pace of play was a mistake going that slow, and I hope they don't do it again. So there you go. I disagree with my guy Bob on that one. All right, guys, I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. Can't thank you guys enough. I know there's a million Ohio State podcasts out there, although we were the first. I shouldn't say that. It kind of sounds braggadocious. It's just a fact. We were the first a long time ago before we even knew what podcasts were. We called it internet radio. But I know you guys have a million choices. I appreciate you guys making the Bucknuts Morning Five one of those choices. Thank you very much to my good friend Jonah Booker. It's awesome doing the shows with him on Friday. I'll be with you guys with Dan Rubin on Monday. It's also awesome doing the shows with Dan. Thank you guys. Appreciate it so much. Thanks to J-Book. Thanks to all of you. Go Bucks tomorrow. Let's get a win for the basketball Bucks and get in the big dance. Appreciate you guys. Go Bucks.